Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, it is 7 o'clock. All right, rise and shine, everybody.
good morning.
Um, so, for those of you who are just joining, this is the last time I'm going to say this because it's 7 o'clock. We're going to get started. Please scan this QR code. And this is how we're going to sign in. The class name, M&P controls setup. My name is Chris Stein. For those of you who don't know me, Mr. Garrett Barrio is going to try and monitor our chat and answer questions.
On that, can anybody see me in chat right now? Talking.
I see you. I don't know if they can. It says host and panelist who you're going to. You might have to hit everybody. I don't know if you have that option.
It doesn't give me the option right now, unfortunately. No, without being
Okay.
long.
Well, we'll let Aaron. So everybody, please don't use the chat right now because as I change my pages, it disappears from my screen because I just bought this ginormous 49-inch monitor and I haven't quite figured out how to do these Zoom presentations in it yet. So scan the QR code, class name, MP Controls. My name, Chris Stein. So I work for Gensco. I do not work for Mitsubishi. However, Mitsubishi lets me teach and do trainings and stuff like that. This week I am on phone support. So for those of you who call in looking for technical support, you would get me this week. I am one of 7 DSGs. We got a couple on here, Dennis Ashmore and Mr. Garrett Barrio. So we, some of us, Garrett and I both teach M&P, and I teach City Multi in all of our training rooms. So 7 DSGs for your technical support needs. The DSGs right now go out to your sites if you have problems, and we can also do trainings at your place of business if needed. Kind of spread thin right now because of our trainers. We need to get some more guys trained up for our certified training rooms. We have certified training rooms. We have 4 of them, one in Vancouver, which is M&P and City Multi. We have one in Tacoma, Fife, corporate, which is M&P and City Multi. We have a City Multi training room in Spokane and an M&P training room in Missoula. So you guys want to get some training, get a hold of your OSR and he can point you in the right direction. I see somebody joining the webinar. Okay, so there's the QR code. If you haven't got signed in yet, I will come back to that at the end and you can get signed in. So I'm going to get rolling here so we're not taking up too much of your time. I threw this together kind of quick. So moving on. So the objectives of this training, to point you in a direction of resources. There are many resources, such as MyLink Drive, abbreviated here. For those of you who do not know about MyLink Drive, that is Mitsubishi's website. There's also going to be a new one, Mitsubishi Pro, with all the new equipment that's coming out. So MyLink Drive is pretty much tapped out as far as capacity. So they are coming out with a new site, Mitsubishi Pro, I believe it's called, where all of the new equipment and new controls and all that will be on that site. They are still working on it. So MyLink Drive for now is your resource for all Mitsubishi manuals. So you get on a job site and the gremlins have stole all of the manuals and you're not sure what you're supposed to do, what settings are supposed to be, you can type in mylinkdrive.com. It is a free website to anybody. There is no username, password, anything like that. You select US products. That gives you everything that's UL listed and available in the US. On that website, up at the top, there's a tab called Tech Tips. Those are hyperlinks to Mitsubishi's YouTube channel. There are many, many topics. So if you haven't been on there, I don't know how many installers we have here, field people, service techs, or just office people. So field guys, please get on there, watch those videos. Again, they're free. Knowledge is power. It will save you time and headaches. Also under there, we're going to see in this presentation, there are app notes. So app notes are created to explain features or operation, sequence of operation of different equipment. So if you have never looked at the app notes, there's a 1000 section, which is your residential M&P, 2000 is city multi, and the 3000 series is for controls. On there, I believe it's 3059 deals with set points of units. We get calls all the time that ask us, why won't my set point go below 67 degrees in cooling? Well, that's because in the firmware from the factory, Mitsubishi has programmed it to not go below that. They say if you want refrigeration equipment, buy refrigeration equipment. Otherwise, 67 in cooling is what you're going to get. Now, anything that's a true M series, such as the floor mount, the MFZ, the MSZ, which is a sidewall MSY, and the MLZ one-way ceiling that come with a handheld control. Those are the only three Mitsubishi products that come with a handheld control from the factory. Okay. I don't remember where I was going with that, but those are the only three units. I know, set points. So those three units have a minimum cooling set point of 61. So they do have a separate heating and cooling set point for those three units. For those of you who listen to podcasts, this is my new soapbox here, folks. If you listen to podcasts, and even if you don't listen to podcasts, please start. If you are working on Mitsubishi equipment, there's a podcast out there, Metis Tech Show, available on Spotify, Audible, all sorts of different places. These are Mitsubishi trainers who have a talk show, and they talk about food and the Mitsubishi product. So if you love cooking, they have different recipes on there. But they talk about everything from M&P, controls, function settings, dip switches, city multi, all of that stuff. They got like 90 plus episodes. It's pretty amazing. So I highly recommend you're driving from your shop to the job site to job site, whatever, driving home, get on there and just listen to this stuff, because I even learned a lot. I've been doing this for almost 6 years now. I'm still learning every single day. And we have new products coming out, as you know. So all this A2L stuff coming out, we got to all relearn that stuff. So please listen to that. So we're going to go through how to access menus on the controls. So the indoor unit function settings, IUFCs, and the installer setups in your controllers. So I've picked two controls that I kind of focused on. The MA controllers, the wired controllers, the PAR 40, PAR 41, and the MHK2. However, we do have the new SDW wired stat, the simple wired stat, which is pretty amazing. But there's just so much information. I didn't want to take up all your time and go through everything. So we're going to talk about function settings, mainly for the SVZ and PVA auxiliary heat. Last year, we had a cold snap and there was a lot of strip heat that did not come on. And the reason it didn't come on is because nobody set it up. You have to actually tell the system through your function settings that you have attached strip heat to it and to use it. So we're going to talk about that. Fan thermal off. We get a lot of calls. Homeowners don't like the fan running all the time. So for those of you who don't know, from the factory, all of the Mitsubishi equipment is set to run the fan on extra low when it is thermally satisfied. Now, some people get irritated with that. Of course, heating, right? Heating, if there's no heat being put out, just room temperature air, it feels cold. People don't like that. So we'll talk about that. And a 4-degree offset. So there's a 4-degree offset built in to all the Mitsubishi equipment for stratification reasons. It's all focused around the wall head. So they build that in because your wall head is up higher on the wall than you're sitting down in your chair. So they build in a 4-degree offset. Off to the right here, For those of you who are lucky enough, this is our new tech manual here, spiral bound. If you're lucky enough to have that, these are awesome little references here. You probably can't see that because of my background, but that is the manual. If you do not have any of those, please get a hold of your OSR, your outside sales rep. He can get you a hard copy. If you are in front of a desk, a computer, if you carry one around with you, you can go to Gensco Customer, Gensco Catalogs, and you can view this or download it to your device. So moving on, first we're going to talk about MyLink Drive. So here's MyLink Drive. I talked about that, app notes. Let me get over here to my annotator so you can see where I'm pointing. So right here we have app notes, we have tech tips, we have controls here. So we're going to kind of briefly touch on this. Controls compatibility. Will this controller work with my piece of equipment? You will come to controls, and up at the very top, we have compatibility charts for whatever units you're working on. Right now, we're going to kind of focus on the M series here because that's the snippet that I took out of the catalog. When you come down to your controller, right, here's a list of controllers, remote controllers, either wired or wireless, depending on what you're looking for. Handhelds, okay? So when you go to the compatibility chart, what we have here, here's the M series compatibility table. Your unit says wall mount here. We have floor mount, multi-position air handler, horizontal ducted. You are going to find your model and the model generation, FD, FE, FH, FS, whatever it is. You will find it along the top. You will come and find what kind of control you're looking for. Okay, RF, Wi-Fi, whatever, whatever interfaces. So you'll see right here, there's a list of them. If you want to know what's in the CN105 list, when you're here, you can scroll to the bottom of the page and it will give you every device that is in the CN105 category, as well as the MA remote category, okay? So you're going to find your unit. So let's take an FE, an older unit, or a GE, right? We want to see if we can put a Kumo on it. So we have a GE, we have an 06 through 18 NA. So an MSZ GE 06 through 018 NA. Can we put a Kumo on it? Well, no, we can't. It says we cannot. Okay. I've run into one of these. It does have a CN105 connection on the board, but it is not active. If you have an MSZ 06 NA-8-9, yes, you can use a CN105 device. That port is active. So we go down here to an MA controller. So can we use an MA on the same unit? GE, NA? No, we can't. But if we have an NA8, 9, GE24, NA, it says yes, we can, but we need a MAC 334 IF-E. That is a thermostat interface for the True M series. So again, the True M series are the floor mount, the sidewall, and the one-way ceiling. They do not have a terminal on the indoor unit to wire a wired stat to. They do not have a TB15. So by installing the MAC 334 IF-E, plugging that into CN105, you will have a TB15 available to hook your wired stat to. Again, find your unit, follow it down. It will tell you yes or no. So pretty simple. Okay, moving on. App notes, okay? Controls app notes. So many questions can be answered by referring to app notes section on MyLink Drive. App note 3059, indoor unit set point range. Okay, Kumo Touch with an MHK2 3052, how to hook those two up together. You can go there and read through these and it explains a lot. Okay. P-Series request codes. We'll talk a little about request codes here coming up. Let's go here. There we go. So example of some of the app notes here. So 3044, thermostat interface sequence of operations. This was from the PAC US 444. It is now gone, superseded by the PAC US 445. So it talks about the sequence of operations. There are actually some updated app notes for that as well. So thermostat interfaces right here, 3057, 3039, thermostat interface installation with zoning. So if you have an SVC and you want to zone it with a Honeywell or whatever, you can use a PAC US 445 to do that. Moving on here. So we're going to go to the MHK2. So I'm going to assume that everyone has installed an MHK2, right? So we do not plug in or unplug anything to our units with the power on. Okay, do not do that, because what happens is 90% of the time, especially on the SLZs, 99.9% of the time, if you plug an MHK2 in with the power on, with the power on, you run a chance of blowing the resistor in the board, and now you have no power to your CN105, and you will need a new board. So please do not plug in or unplug anything to our system with the power on. So plugging in, right, turn the power off, you're going to find your CN105, plug in your MHK2 receiver, put your batteries in the remote. You're going to press the connect button on your receiver. It will start flashing fast, means it's in pairing mode. On your controller, you're going to hit the connect button. It will count down from 30, say success. You are going to hit done. Once you hit done on that user interface screen, you are going to go back to the MHK2 receiver, and you are going to press the connect button a second time. Okay, the reason you are going to press that a second time, that will take that receiver out of pairing mode and marry it to the user interface that just connected to it. If you do not press that connect button a second time and you have another MHK2 to install in that residence or that job site, and it's close enough to connect to that first receiver, that's what it's going to do. So it's going to cause you problems. So please exit pairing mode by pressing that connect button a second time. Right after that, it's going to bring up your installer settings, right? Or your initial settings. So you're going to go to your function settings. So the first time it will automatically take you to your function settings. Okay. After that, if you need to get into the function settings, you're going to press the menu button right here for 5 seconds. And then your screen's going to come up and it's going to ask you for a PIN code. I don't know why they did this, but on the back of your MHK2 in the lower right-hand corner, you will see a 4-digit number. That 4-digit number added to 1,234. So 1234 added to that 4-digit PIN, that 4-digit number in the bottom right-hand corner is your PIN code. So my suggestion is, if you have a black Sharpie and you are on a job site going through and doing this, do your math, write it on the back of the thermostat with a Sharpie. That will help you out in the long run. Now, if for some reason that PIN code does not work, I found one the other day. Sometimes that number in the lower right-hand corner is different than the first 4 digits of the serial number. They should be the same. So if that bottom right-hand number does not work, take the first 4 digits of your serial number added to 1,234, and that will work as your PIN code. I found that one that was 1 digit off. Usually they're only 1 digit off from each other. So anyway, so that's how you're going to get into it. So you can access your function settings, right? That's the first thing that's going to come up. And then your device settings, which are your installer settings. So depending what you're hooking up to, you may not get function codes. So if you're hooking up to a true M series, a floor mount a sidewall, or a one-way ceiling, you will not see function settings come up on your MHK2. The only thing you will have is your installer settings, which start out at 134, I believe. So we'll see here in a minute, because I attached the function codes from the MHK2 installation manual. Now, these function codes are pretty much the same for all of the Mitsubishi systems, the M and P. So function code 1 is automatic recovery after power failure, right? With the M series, it automatically comes enabled from the factory. So after you turn power on, it's going to take 1 to 4 minutes, usually 4 minutes plus or minus 1, for that unit to be able to come on and operate. So if you're wondering why you turn the power on and it's not coming on right away, you got to give it some time. One thing I've learned about Mitsubishi is when you think you've waited long enough, wait some more. Okay, you have to be patient. So function 1, automatic recovery after power failure. Enabled in M series has to be enabled by the technician in P series. Okay. Function 2. This is very, very important. Function code 2, room temperature sensing location. So when you plug this into a Mitsubishi unit, don't think that it automatically senses temperature from that remote controller. It kind of does. It averages. Okay, so it averages between what the unit is seeing and what the thermostat is seeing. So if you want to sense temperature from the indoor unit, you need to set that function code 2 to number 2, right? It'll sense temperature from the indoor unit. Or you can set it to 3 if you want to sense temperature from the remote controller. And then we have a list of other stuff here. Further in the presentation, I got the most popular that we'll talk about. But this is an entire list. It tells you what unit that is applicable to and what it does when you set that function code for that unit. Okay, there are notes up here at the top. 1 through 25 are automatically determined by the HVAC equipment. This can take up to 40 seconds before it pulls the information. So when you hook it up, you power it up, that controller looks at the information on that indoor unit board and determines what you are going to see, whether you are going to see function settings or just the installer settings like it says right here. Now, City Multi products, okay? In City Multi, function settings are not done through your controller. Function settings are done through dip switches on the indoor unit. So something to be aware of. So on the first page, we have functions 1 through 11. Second page, 12 through 28. So there are some notes here, what they refer to. Make sure you check those out. There's also an extensive list of your function codes and installer settings on the new SDW installation information, either on MyLink Drive or the little brochure that comes with it when you open the box. So you can get your hands on one of those. If you have an extra one, that's great. Keep it with you. Now, here's our installer settings, starting out at 134. I have come across several MHK2s. Guys in the field, installers have called in and said, I cannot set a schedule in my MHK2. If that happens to you, please go to your installer setup and go to installer setup number 134. Everything that is in bold is what the factory setting is, the default from the factory, okay? If you cannot set a schedule in that MHK2, please go to 134 and make sure that central controller present says not installed. I don't know how they get switched or how it happens, but the ones that you cannot set a schedule in, it says installed. The reason that happens is because the central controller is in charge of the schedule if there is one connected. So, again, if you have a multi-zone system, please take it out of auto changeover, put it into manual changeover. There are reasons for that. If you go to Gensco customer, go to technical training videos, select Mitsubishi. The DSGs, these quick hitters, sometimes make it on there if they're popular enough. And we talk about why not to put an MXZ into auto changeover. Homeowners will not be satisfied. So schedule owners, you can set your schedule type, no schedule, Monday through Sunday, all that kind of fun stuff. You can add lockouts. You can lock out your on off, you can lock out your mode, your temperatures, you can set your temperature range, max heating, minimum cooling. So it does say 50 degrees on here for minimum cooling. Again, that is not for every unit. Okay, not for every unit. It will go down to 50 degrees, but that will be in heating if you have smart set. So humidity. So the MHK2 does not control humidity. None of ours do. So, but you can hide the humidity on your stat, or you can adjust and offset. It will display what the humidity is in the room. Also in there on page 12 for your MHK2, page 12, you are going to see your static pressure settings. So if you have a ducted unit, any Mitsubishi ducted unit, SEZ, SVZ, right? You'll see the SVZ has vertical, horizontal, left and right, and a downflow. There's separate settings for those. So refer to that. You are going to measure your static pressure in your duct, right? Between your filter and your blower, and between your coil and your heat strip if you have it. If not, you can go on the outside, just downstream from your SVZ or air handler. So get your static pressure. Please set your modes. So mode 8 and 10 in your thermostats will set your static pressure. Menu structure for the PAR 40. So here is Mitsubishi's MA controller. They call it the PAR 40 MA Deluxe controller. We're up to a PAR 41, soon to have a PAR 42 if it's not out already. So where to find your function settings and how to set those. So in the manual, in the operation manual on my link drive, or yeah, it's going to be on my link drive. I don't think it's in the manual that comes with it. You can go there and there's a menu structure page. So if you're looking for something, it shows you how to find it. So you're going to tap on main menu and say we're looking for our function settings. So you follow this line all the way down, and as you branch off to these different settings, it allows you to set different functions in there. So we follow this down. Here's page 2, right? We have initial settings where you can set your time, your clock, daylight savings, all that kind of stuff, administrator password. So with the MA controllers, there are 2 different passwords, 9999 for the installer and 0000 for the administrator password. Gets you into different functions. So again, we're looking for function settings. We're going to keep following this down. We get down to the maintenance menu, and we come down even further. We get to the settings menu. This is where you are going to find your function settings. Okay, so M&P says refer to the installation manual for your indoor equipment for your function settings. So you can select from M&P, City Multi, or Lost Name. Also in there, request codes. So these are the 2 big ones for the M&P, especially for the SVZ and the PVA. So function settings and request codes. Here's where we're gonna set it up. You can also get to test run for that system in the service menu. Okay, so you can find the menu structure and follow it down. The best thing for this is get in front of one, get your hands on it, right? If you got a little time, you got a unit in your shop, get one of these controllers on it and hook it up and play with it. And if you have questions, You're going to get our phone number if you don't have it already at the end of this presentation, and our email. You can get a hold of us and we can help you out with that. So Mr. Garrett Barrio, who is on here helping me out, he created these slides right here that I stole from him, and I'm not ashamed to say it. So here's our par 40, right? The par 33 had different buttons. They made it more Americanized by putting words there because evidently people could not understand symbols. So this is our par 40 right here. So stop the unit. You have to stop the unit before it will accept function codes. Can't change anything with the system running. So you come over here to your little wrenches, and then you're going to hit your select button. Okay, that's going to get you to the service menu. Again, the service maintenance password is 9999. You will hit select. You will scroll down to the service menu, to the settings, hit select, and here's where your function settings are. You will select that, okay? You're going to use your buttons here for the up and down. This is not a touch screen like the MHK2, okay? So you're going to hit function settings. So if this is a one-to-one system, so our Mitsubishi wired controllers can control up to 16 indoor units. Okay, TB15 will have to be daisy chained. P series, you will address the outdoor unit. Okay, but if it is a one-to-one, ref address, what does that mean? That is a refrigerant address. What is the address of the unit that it's connected? So if it's on P series, this is controlling more than one. This thermostat will hook to the lowest address indoor unit and then be daisy chained through TB15 on all of your units that it is controlling. Okay, so you will set the refrigerant address. If it's a one-to-one, you will leave that at 0. Okay, and then you will use two different, this is what I do. Now you will use, it says unit number. This gives you different function settings. I do believe group 1 is 1 through 7 and 22 through 28. Or you can select all, and then it gives you all of them in between those numbers. So if you don't see the function setting that you're looking for, the function number, switch to all. If you're in group, you don't see it, switch to all, and then it will bring up the other function settings. Again, all the function settings are the same through the MNP. So if you have one list, you can use that for all of the functions. Once you get in there, you will use your up and down arrows. So here's mode 1. So mode 1 is for automatic recovery after power failure. Okay, 1 is off, 2 is on. So it will show you what that unit is currently set at. It will be highlighted right here. Okay, so we're going to go to mode 2. Mode 2 is for our temperature sensing location. So here we're averaging. 2 is our indoor. 3 is from sense from our local controller. Okay, so find your function setting, come here, and right here, you're looking at refrigerant address 0, right? We're in group, and there are 4 pages of functions on this group setting. So you can scroll through the pages, your up and down arrows, okay? So from the service menu, you can also test run the system or use check codes right here. So you can request information from your system with a wired stat. In the SVZ and the PVA, so those are the 2 M&P series that have factory strip heat available, auxiliary heat. Okay, so from the factory, I'm going to wait because that's coming up. I put it in here. So here's how you get to check codes. And from check codes, you are going to go to request codes if you want to adjust the wait time for your strip heat to come on, which we're going to talk about here in a second. So using the request codes, right? You can look for different data points on your system. You go to the manual for your outdoor unit. So refer to the P-Series Outdoor Unit Service Manual for a complete list of request codes. You will enter the request code here, and it will bring up information. Now, SVZ PVA auxiliary heat. Here is what your board looks like. If you're colorblind, I'm sorry, get someone to help you, or read right here on the board. CN24-1, CN24-2. One is orange, one is blue. They are color coded to the wires that are installed on the SVZ. Okay. So, how strip heat works. You are going to plug these in, of course, when the power is off. Power has to be off when you plug these in. The wires are actually under the plastic housing. There's two little twisty ties below that. The CN24 1 and 2 are both labeled with a tag as well as a color. Okay. You will take them loose from those twisty ties, run them up through the hole in the plastic housing and plug them into your board. And on the top of the SVZ, you can punch out the 1/2-inch knockout. The other end of those wires is right under that hole. Push them up, plug them into the relays on your strip heat. How strip heat works with Mitsubishi. There is no button or mode on the thermostat like unitary that you can switch to EM heat, emergency heat, where it just uses the strip heat. Okay. Mitsubishi wants the outdoor unit to do all the work. So how strip heat works with Mitsubishi is it has to be 2.7 degrees below set point, okay, for 24 minutes and not see a 0.9 degree temperature rise in that 24 minutes. Now, if you look here, there's an asterisk right behind 24 minutes. That is a factory default setting. Depending on what piece of equipment you are working on, okay, depending what piece of equipment you are working on, you can adjust that time. So the SVZ is adjustable down to 14 minutes and as high as 29 minutes. Now it goes in 5-minute increments. So in the service manual for the SVZ is where you will find these request codes. Okay. Once you go to request codes, these settings, if you are going to adjust that time, these settings have to be done with a Mitsubishi wired stat. You cannot do this through the MHK2. Okay, you will go to the service manual for the SVZ. You will get to your request codes right here on your PAR 40, and you will type in the appropriate number. Okay, 393 is what it's set for from the factory. So if you type in 390 right here and you hit select, what's going to happen is it's going to come back with 393 in that request code spot right here. That's to tell you that it is currently set at 24 minutes. So then what you're going to do, you're going to come over here to request codes. You are going to, if you want to set it for 14 minutes, which I recommend if you have elderly folks in the house, okay, you are going to type in 391. You are going to hit the select button and it's going to say it's sending that to the indoor unit. Once it's done, you can come back and type 390 into the request code, and the number that should pop back up will be 391. That is to confirm that it is set at 14 minutes. So you've just confirmed that it has changed. So back to our how strip heat works. So 2.7 degrees below set point and not see a 0.9 degree temperature rise in whatever you set it for. If you didn't set it, it will be 24 minutes. If that criteria is met, it will bring on first stage of strip heat. If after 7 minutes, it still has not seen a 0.9 degree temperature rise, it will bring on second stage. And it will run those strip heat stages until you are 0.9 degrees below set point. And then it will turn off your strip heat. So if somebody leaves the door open, it's going to compensate for that, bring on the strip heat, and somebody shuts the door, and then it's going to shut off and let the outdoor unit take over. The reason it does not take it all the way up to your set point is because Mitsubishi does not want that strip heat to run. So when your strip heat runs, your electric meter on the side of the house tries to spin off the wall, right? We use a lot of power for that. Mitsubishi doesn't want that, so they keep it at least a degree below set point, so it brings attention to the system. The homeowner says, hey, something's not right, we're not meeting set point, and they will call you. You will go out and find out if there's something wrong, low on refrigerant, dirty filters, whatever it is, it's drawing attention to itself. So that is strip heat in a nutshell. So common setup, whether it be SVZ, PVA with strip heat, or if you have a ducted unit, SEZ, PEAD, okay? This is common setups. So if you guys want to take a picture of this now, that's great. So your indoor unit function code. So mode 2 is our sensing location. 99.9% of the time, you want to sense from the remote controller. So that setting number, you're going to change that to 3. Mode 8 and 10, you are going to take your static pressure measurement in your ductwork and go to page 12 of the MHK2 manual, installation manual. You're going to get your numbers and set mode 8 and 10 to the appropriate static pressure. If you have strip heat, it tells you in the manual for the strip heat, guys, please, if you haven't read these instructions, please sit down, take the time, read them. There's a lot of great information. Everything that you're seeing here, you have in the installation manual, okay? So in the manual and in our little books here, our little tech manuals, it tells you if you have strip heat, you need to set mode 11 and 23 to number 2. 11 says, hey, you have strip heat connected to you, okay? And mode 23 says use that strip heat in case of error, right? A communication error with the outdoor unit, and it's in heat mode, it will bring that strip heat on within 5 minutes if it loses communication. Or if you have an error code, high pressure switch, whatever, right? It's going to bring that strip heat on. And it will use it in case of defrost. If your system goes into defrost when it's been running in heat mode, it will bring on the strip heat when the outdoor unit's in defrost. If your strip heat was running before it went into defrost, it will bring on the strip heat during defrost. If it was not running the strip heat before it went into defrost, it will not. Okay. Mode 24. Mode 24 is for your 4-degree offset. So if you have an SVZ, you have an MHK2, you are going to set mode 24 to number 2 to get rid of that 4-degree offset. The MHK2 cannot send request codes. Request codes can only be sent, again, from an MA wired controller. Okay. So here's where we come to the fan thermal off. Homeowner does not want that fan blowing when it is not calling for heating or cooling. So mode 25. Mode 25 sets your heating fan mode thermal off. If you want that fan to turn off on any of these ducted units when it is thermally satisfied, you will set mode 25 to 2. Okay. Now, mode 27 is for cooling fan thermal off. Now, in cooling mode, as everybody knows, anytime you have airflow across you, right, convection, it's going to feel cool. So I don't necessarily recommend turning your fan off when it's thermally satisfied. So setting that to 1 will use whatever your controller's set to for fan. Okay. If you want to turn it off, set it to 2, and it will turn it off when it's thermally satisfied. So again, those are common setup for these units. Now, we've come out with the PAA. We get kind of a lot of calls. I had one yesterday. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back to right here. I was on a call the other day. They were wondering why their strip heat was not coming on. Was on the phone for about 54 minutes before he realized that the installers did not hook up. It was a PVA, so the strip heat, no, actually it's a PVFY. The strip heater has the connecting wires in it. Nobody had hooked up the connecting wires from the strip heat to the control board. Again, when you're installing this, make sure you hook everything up. Please, please, please. So PAA, we get a lot of this. Where to hook things up. Sometimes these manuals are kind of confusing. In our little tech manual here that we have, we give you wiring schematics. This is taken from that manual. Where to hook things up. Your furnace goes to TBA. We have a TBA, terminal block A, terminal block B. Okay. And then we have a PAC US 445. For those of you who do not know, the PAC US 445 is our third-party thermostat interface, such as an Ecobee, a Nest, whatever you want for a third-party controller. You will need, when you're hooking it up to a PAA, you do not need a transformer. It uses the furnace power to power the thermostat. So this is your CN105 connection. Here's your CN105 port. Again, power off before you plug that into anywhere. The PAC US 445 comes with this harness right here. If you follow your relay board harness, this says 2T stat. These wires will terminate in this little terminal bar right here. And then it plugs in here. That PAC US 445 mounts on this little plate right here. You wire your third-party thermostat into here, and you're good to go. Wire up your furnace according to whether you have a single stage or a two-stage furnace. I think we'll see that here in just a minute. So here's the terminals on your furnace, putting a jumper between G and Y1 on your furnace. We'll see that here. So the PAC US 445, since we do not have function settings in a third-party stat, function settings will be set by dip switches in the PAC US 445. You will take these 4 screws out of the back of the 445, remove the plastic cover that's on the front, and you will access your dip switches. In the installation manual, you will see what these dip switches do. Okay. So thermostats, your Nest, your Ecobee, your third-party stat needs to be configured as a conventional thermostat, not a heat pump thermostat. Please remember that. The PAA also, do not put that on an oil furnace. The PAA is compatible with any thermostatically controlled furnace, gas furnace. Okay. We have to have red, common, white, yellow, green. Okay, so dip switches are going to set your function settings, and they are right here. So PAA setup, we have 2 different charts here. The left chart is if you are using a Mitsubishi controller. Mode 8 and 10, instead of being for static pressure, if you're hooked to a PAA, mode 8 and 10, set your balance point for your system. Now it says indoor unit settings. That's not quite right. So you have 2 different temperature ranges. The left one here is for a non-hyperheat. From the factory, your MHK2 hooked to a PAA has a balance point of 32 degrees, both in non-hyperheat and hyperheat. That is the default. If you want it anything other than that, you need to go into mode 8 and 10 and set mode 8 to the appropriate and 10 to the appropriate number. And here is your balance point. So when it hits, say we have it set to, we have a hyperheat, we want to have our balance point set at 9 degrees. So when it hits below 9 degrees or below outside, it is going to cut out your heat pump and switch to gas furnace. Okay, so make sure that you set that. A lot of people do not set that, and they wonder why it's 30 degrees outside and their PAA is not coming on. That is why. Okay, it's not a problem with the system. It was just not set up correctly. Okay. So over here, we have the PAC-US 445. This is in the installation instructions that come with the PAC-US 445. You have a third-party thermostat. Well, we need to set our PAA balance point. So SW2, switch 1, 2, and 3 right here. Adjust our mode 8 and 10 and our mode 11 if we have, well, we're not going to have strip heat on the PAA, so we don't need to worry about that. But say we have a PAC-US 445, we have a hyperheat outdoor unit, we want to set it at 9-degree balance point. So we're going to go to mode 8 as number 1. So we come over here, mode 8, number 1. Okay, there we go. And then we will need at 9 degrees, mode 10 needs to be 2. So we're going to come and find 1 and 2 right here. So that tells me in the PAC-US 445 on SW2, I need to turn switch 1 on, 2 is off, 3 is on. And that will set your economic balance point through the PAC-US 445. Now, if you have a 2-stage gas furnace, right, you use a different fan speed for second stage, you are going to go to mode 23 and set that to 2. Your Y1 and Y2 use different fan speeds. You're going to set mode 23 to number 2. If they use the same, you're going to leave it at 1. PAC-US 445 SW2-4 sets mode 23. So this is for a Mitsubishi stat. This is PAC-US 445. You have a 2-stage fan, right? 2-stage unit, 2 different speeds for Y1 and Y2. You're going to go to SW2, switch number 4, and turn that on. That will set mode 23 to number 2. Okay, so that is what I have. For those of you who do not have our tech services phone number, you can take out your phones right now and you can program this number in there and label it Gensco Tech Services. So our tech services phone number is 253-620-8282. If you have questions with any Mitsubishi product, Train or American Standard or Run True, you can call or text that same number and you will get sent to the appropriate, hopefully sent to the appropriate people to take care of your needs. Why would you not see setting 134 on the S? You would, you will, you can see, you just have to go to your installer settings. You will see it. But you automatically go to your installer settings when you have one of the true M series. You don't get function settings. Back to Gensco Tech Services, right? If you want to email us, tech support@gensco.com. You can send us an email as well. So that is all that I have right there. Well, hang on, dang it, from current slide. So we are still here. Where are we? I am not sharing. Am I not sharing? I can't hear anybody. Can anybody hear me? Escape.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I don't know what happened to my screen here. Can anybody see my screen yet?
No, nope.
No. Dang it. What happened to that? Escape. Here we go. And well, dang it. Well, okay. I don't know what happened to my system here, folks. Sorry. Video, more. Share. Here we go. Share. Share this right here and share.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody should be able to see that now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so for those of you who didn't get a chance to sign in at the beginning, you can scan that QR code with your cellular device. And the class name is M&P Controls. And my name, of course, Chris Stein.
I was supposed to learn some wiring about the.
There we go. All right. Now I'm seeing this. Kevin, you are not sharing. Got it, Kevin. Will not show up on call and text port, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Do we have any questions? Sorry for the mess up there, folks. Questions, concerns, comments? Anybody mad?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, hopefully this helped. Hopefully this helped. God, that was right about an hour. Okay. Again, if you guys have questions, you're on a job site, give us a call. If you've been out to the job site before, or you having issues and you're going out there, you know what time you're going to be there, you can text in the night before, the morning of, kind of hold yourself a spot in line. We can call you at the time that you think you're going to be on site that you give us. That's pretty much all I have, unless you guys have something else. Everybody done scanning this? Okay. Let's see, do we have Garrett? Okay, you're doing that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great day. Thank
You guys are very welcome. We'll talk to y'all later. Coming up on February 18th, Mr. David Wood is doing a installation and startup quick hitter. So save that on your schedule. Register for that on Gensco Customer. Again, a lot of these trainings, if you guys haven't been to them, they are on Gensco Customer under technical training videos. You can select Mitsubishi. Please watch those. Lots of great information. It may answer a lot of your questions, so you don't have to call in and wait for us to call you back. So that's all I got. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye, Chris.